If you're a pop culture junkie who loves TV, film, music, comedy, and other really important stuff, then you've come to the right place. Get ready and settle in for Classic Conversations, the best pop culture interviews in the world. That's right, we circled the globe so you don't have to. If you're ready to be the king of the water cooler, then you're ready for Classic Conversations with your host, Jeff Dwoskin.
All right, Kristen, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. You get the show going each and every time, and this is no exception. Welcome, everybody, to episode 263 of Classic Conversations. We're laying down the red carpet for this episode. Our guest today is Jeff Krauss, co-creator of FanRoom's Live, CEO of IE Group, party planner to the stars, George Clooney, Alicia Keys. Perhaps you've heard of them. Jeff is going to take us behind the scenes of why he's the go-to when celebrities need a party, his work with the SNL after parties, FanRoom's Live experiences, so much more coming up in just a few seconds. Earlier this week, I released my Hal Sparks interview. Check that out. That is an amazing conversation with Hal Sparks and his return to the podcast. Do not miss that episode, and do not miss my deep dive with Jeff Krauss. Let's get ready to go behind the scenes of celebrity party planning and celebrity fan room experiences with Jeff Krauss. Enjoy. All right, everyone, I'm excited to introduce you to my next guest. Quite an amazing life with hobnobbing with entertainers. We're gonna dive into it. CEO of the IE Group, co-creator of FanRoom's Live. Welcome to the show, Jeff Krauss.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have another Jeff on the show. It's a dying name. You don't see new people with the name Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff and Jeff. You know, you gotta respect it. You know what I mean?
I know. I don't know how it was when you were growing up, but when I was growing up, everyone was either Jeff or Jennifer. And now it's like none of those names. I mean, it's like, unless you're older, right?
I was like the only Jeff, or maybe like two others in my school, believe it or not.
What? One day, someone on TV will name their kid Jeff, and it'll kind of, it'll go get popular again.
Exactly.
You know his name? I was looking, as I was rummaging through all your cool stuff, came across the name Stacey Toy. I know Stacey Toy.
Oh, yeah.
She was one of the very first people I interviewed on my podcast.
Really?
Yeah, like I'm over 250 episodes, but she was episode 23. She's like an OG guest on the show.
That's so funny. Yeah, I love Stacey. She's amazing. And she's done such a great work with us with FanRoom's Live and other stuff. That's hilarious. Yeah, I love her.
Yeah, she's awesome. I will get to FanRoom's Live in a second. Through the IE Group, I was stalking your Instagram, and I mean, it's an insane, it's a crazy list of celebrities. The Clooneys, Christina Aguilera, Alicia Keys, Brooke Shields, the list goes on, and I'm sure we'll touch on a few more. How did you even get into celebrity hospitality business? What were you doing beforehand? What kind of led to this company that these top entertainers come to you?
Well, so going years back, I mean, I started in college just throwing parties. You know, I was throwing parties at different nightclubs. As the years went on, I kind of went more into event production, less into party promoting per se. And I was getting hired at different venues for marketing, you know, whether it be restaurants or lounges, just to do marketing and programming, that kind of stuff. And I, with my business partner, Mitch Faulkner, we were basically arranging things where, so he owns 123 Talent. He does a lot of like conventions and that kind of stuff. And I do more of the parties. So I would organize like private dinners, let's just say at a restaurant. And then the celebrity would come to the lounge after, and it would look good for him because he would be trying to book them for conventions and speaking engagements and stuff like that. So as the years went on, my client list grew as far as not just the celebrities, but also I started working with Saturday Night Live, doing their after parties and doing all these different things. And then nightclubs started to ask us to book music artists and celebrity hosts and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of just came together and we basically just trying to do all these different types of opportunities, whether it be party planning side, he would refer to me. If it was, something with a celebrity paid appearance type thing, I would maybe let him take the lead. So we kind of just joined forces and figured that if we do everything together, we could accomplish a lot more. And that's how it basically started.
I want to hear about these Saturday Night Live parties. I had someone on, a comedian, actress. She happened to have been on the very first Saturday Night Live. She was actually at the very first after party. I'm guessing the ones you're throwing these days aren't as crazy drug-filled, and even if they are, you probably can't say. But they seem to be of legend. What is it? Talk to me about Saturday Night Live after parties.
For the last number of years, they would call me and basically just say, hey, we're looking for, a space. A lot of times it'd be last minute. We're looking for a space. Can you get us the venue and book the DJ and all that kind of stuff? And I would just do it. And all of a sudden it started to be like, all right, you're getting us great venues. Parties are going really well. Now we want you to do more and more of them. So it would just be an ongoing thing because I kept trying to ask them, can you give me a little bit more notice, so to speak? Because sometimes they'd call me the night before. And it just basically, I figured out how they work. I just would line up a couple venues at the beginning of the week, knowing that they're going to call me on Friday and say, hey, where's the party for tomorrow?
Their expectations of you is that it's a different party I say every week that they're doing a show. Every show is.
Yeah. Every week they do it at a different space. But most times they come to me to get the after party space, which is, they do the dinner first at a restaurant and then they'll come to me, where can we go after and dance and hang out and whatever. So that's really how it started. And then now now I work with them even more on the dinner part and the first party. Started working with them on some of those. So yeah, no, it's been a great relationship. I can't really dive into necessarily what happens in the parties because it's a privacy thing. But the only thing I can tell you is that I do help them with it.
No, that's really cool. I was only joking around just because the old one, the older days with Belushi and all that are of legend.
Oh yeah, those are wild. I mean,
Yeah, you'd think that they would know the show's coming up. I mean, they're planning it. They could give you a call on a Monday or something. Yeah.
No, that's their thing. The way they look at it is when they're in the mood to start planning the party, that's when they want to plan the party. So if it means that it's the night before that they say, oh, let's start planning the party, call Jeff. That's what they do. I've tried to change it, and say, hey, can you guys, call me a week or two earlier? It went in one ear and out the other. But it's fine. Once I figured out the way that they operate, it made it much easier for me to operate because now I know, okay, they're going to call me on Friday. I'll have a couple of venues lined up and I just tell the venues up front, look, it may be your week this week. It may not be. We're not going to know until Friday night. And that's how I did it. Instead of trying to change them, I reverse engineered it.
Brilliant, Jeff. And then the restaurants or the locales, I assume, are on board because they know eventually it'll be them. How often do they repeat? Do you have to find new places every single time?
Well, they usually they like to go back to the same venues, every 2 months or something like that. But yeah, I'm always finding them new spaces. And as long as they enjoy them, they end up going back maybe once or twice in the same season. So it does make it easier. Once they have fun at one space, I can then put that space back into the rotation. So it makes it easier. So I have to find them less venues because the venue that they just had a great time at is already approved. They just don't want to go back too far, too many times in a time frame, if that makes sense.
Sure. How far back do you go doing this? Like who was in the cast when you kind of started? Like the Will Ferrell years, or whatever.
I started helping them and working with them probably, I think, in 2016, 2017. This is when it was Bobby Moynihan and Kate McKinnon, Pete Davidson. I think Jay Farrow was still there at that point. That's when I first initially just started working with them. And, of course, the cast has changed since, but there's still some of the same people there.
Right. They hang on to people a lot longer now than they used to. So, all right, so that's awesome. So, do you go to these parties? Is that like part of your responsibilities? The burden of parties?
Yeah, well, I try to at least go at the beginning just to make sure everything is set up and everything is smooth sailing for it. Those parties, they do go a little later than my comfort, so to speak, but I do try to stay at least midway just to oversee, make sure everything is good. I do try to attend the events just for that reason.
It's fun. So, and then I see you take pictures with a lot of people. So it's like, I love that you can see my wall.
Well, the irony is those photos that you see on my Instagram, none of them are ever taken at the SNL party.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, because they want everything to be very hush hush, and that's fine. Totally good with that. Yeah, a lot of the pictures that you see are more from events or dinners or whatever that I've done with the talent themselves.
Got it. So you're the go-to guy when someone needs a private dinner, they're having a birthday. Take me through George Clooney working with you to set up a party for his wife. Like how does he even know to call you? George, you can't get bigger than George Clooney. I mean, everyone else is awesome on this list too, but George Clooney is like,
Well, that's a great example. I've known his publicist for a while. I reached out to him for something maybe a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks earlier. And his publicist just referred me to his assistant. And they said, "Hey, we're in town. It's Amal's birthday in a couple days. Or can you put together her birthday dinner?" Sure, no problem. And I quickly set it up and arranged it.
so how easy or hard is it to work with a celebrity versus anyone, I guess? I mean, like in everyone's head, I think it's like, I know it's for concerts, but the no brown M&Ms, that kind of level of crazy requests and stuff like that. No chickpeas in the hummus. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. So I have a lot of patience, and that's maybe one of the keys of why I'm able to do this pretty good, I guess you could say. I'm very patient with stuff like that. If they have specific requests that they have allergies or they have any kind of issues with anything, I try to just get as much of that stuff passed through that's actually possible. I haven't really come into contact with people that were really that difficult per se, at least in the events that I've been doing. I've been, I guess, fortunate enough that most of the talent that I've done parties and dinners for have been very, very nice and gracious and no issues, so to speak.
Is it a whole kind of a rigmarole when you run one of these parties and the press gets wind of it, or the publicist or the photographers and all that? Is that in your purview? Like, how do you keep it private?
Well, each event is different. Some events, the celebrity's publicist or manager will approve, us letting the press know about it. Some of them don't. Some of them, it's more of like, hey, if they get wind of it after, then, so be it kind of thing. But our whole thing is more about privacy of what happens inside. So if they get wind of the fact that they were there, that's one thing. We just don't give information of what happens on the inside of the party to any kind of press or anything like that, unless it's something that is approved by their publicist saying, hey, they raised a certain amount of money for charity. Is that something that you want to put out there? Okay, that's great. That's a good deed. If it's something that has to do personally with the celebrity, we try to keep that kind of stuff private.
So whatever happens at a Jeff Krauss event stays at that Jeff Krauss event.
Unless they find out on their own somehow, some way of any other information. But as far as what's coming from me and my team, yeah, no, we respect the celebrity's wishes of keeping things private.
Sorry to interrupt, but the press got wind of this interview, so I got to go handle that. I do want to thank everyone for their support of the sponsors. When you support the sponsors, you're supporting us here at Classic Conversations, and that's how we keep the lights on. And now back to my conversation with Jeff Krauss. We're going to talk about some party planning, fan room live, all that goodness. Enjoy. So you've also worked with, and feel free to share any stories, Christina Aguilera, Alicia Keys, Brooke Shields, any cool anecdotes from that group?
All three of the people that you just mentioned are actually really great people. I planned Christina's after party for Pride in NYC. I'm sorry, Christina's party for Pride in NYC. Alicia Keys, I helped plan her after party for her concert. And Brooke Shields, it was her dinner. It was her birthday dinner. All three were great to work with. And yeah, really just very sweet people. Had a lot of fun actually working with all three of them.
So you had reached out to George Clooney, and then that was how that happened. So, but are you just constantly reaching out, or how do people know to just call the IE group and Jeff Krauss to kind of make these high-end events take place?
Well, a lot of them are referrals. So, for example, I have worked with Christina Aguilera's publicity team's colleagues before, many times over. So, when she was looking for a space for her after party, her publicist reached out because I was recommended by internally within the company. So that's how that got initiated. And it just so happened that her manager, I've also worked with some of her colleagues. So it was very, serendipitous, so to speak, connection. Similar thing with Alicia. I had reached out and then been referred by a manager's colleague, and they were deciding whether they wanted to do a party or not. And we were also talking about maybe planning a dinner for her. And it just kind of ended up being, okay, well, Alicia wants to do an after party. Can you put it together? Can you find a great space that fits this criteria? And it ended up working out.
That's awesome. Let's talk about, how did you come to create Fan Room Live with Cedric the Entertainer? Like, what was the whole germ of the idea, and how did you kind of bring that to life? Or back to where working with Stacey Toy?
Yeah, well, basically, during the pandemic, around April of 2020, when we're all sitting in our homes, we're bored out of our minds. Uh, Mitch Faulkner, my partner, called me up and said, Jeff, I want to start getting some of our athlete and wrestler clients online to do something with their fans, kind of just, we just want to do something, even if it's for charity or anything. We're just all so bored. Can you, do you have any ideas? Well, what if we did that? And what if they got to meet their fans and we, raised some money for charity? They got to speak to their fans. And what if we also did that with celebrities? What a great idea. Let's make some calls. We called Cedric. We pitched him the idea, and just, again, just the skeleton of the idea. And his initial response was, wow, this sounds like a great idea. In fact, I think that this virtual stuff is going to be around for a whole lot longer than just the pandemic. But I think the idea of doing charity events is a great idea, but we can make this into a brand, and I'd love to produce it with you guys. Okay, that sounds great. So we just started playing around with ideas, trying to come up with the right format, and we launched. And it's been great. That's how we became partners with Cedric on FanRoom. As far as Stacey goes, I had connected with Stacey on LinkedIn a number of years ago, and she came on to one show and checked it out as far as FanRoom. We were talking about different ideas of how she could be involved. And I said, you know what? I think it would be great if you could, not only help us maybe produce it, but also if you'd want to come on and be a host. And so we gave it a shot, and she was great. She knocked it out of the park. She made the celebrities and the fans feel so welcomed, along with Jay Benjamin, who's, also the host and co-EP. So yeah, no, it was just a great dynamic, a great energy on the show. And it's, you always want to have a great energy to something with whatever you're doing. And they both brought and still bring that energy to FanRoom, so which we love.
Do you have any favorite Fan Room events? And when I say that, I don't mean pick your favorite person that was there, but like where something happened, like a good thing, like a magical thing that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, I have a few. One, well, I'll go into a couple. One of them, so Jake the Snake Roberts, we had him on FanRoom, and he had been visiting this girl that's a paraplegic or has some sort of disability since the 80s. She gets a ticket to come on. He doesn't know she's going to be on. because, of course, we're in the middle of the pandemic. He goes on, she's on there, and he says, "Oh, is that my girl? I think her name is Shan." And, it was like this beautiful moment because he couldn't go and visit her because he couldn't fly because of the pandemic.
Oh,
So now they had this moment to be able to talk to each other on FanRoom, and it was beautiful. That would be one.
I love that. That's great. That's really cool.
Yeah.
You can't plan those things. That's why it's go ahead. All right, go ahead. Tell me another one.
Yeah, no, that's the beauty of it. This was not planned. This just happened, spur of the moment. We had no idea of any of this until we were all on, and yeah, it was great. Another moment, we actually had another wrestler. We had the Big Show, Paul White, and we had brought on this organization called the Wrestling Warriors Project, where they bring sick children to wrestling shows. And they had been doing that for a number of years. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, they couldn't do that anymore. So they brought on a couple of the kids that were sick with terminal illnesses, cancer, whatnot. And one of them, from the UK, was talking with Big Show and he said, "Hey, can you donate your shirt to the charity?" And Paul, Big Show, took his shirt off, signed it, and said, "Hey, this is for the charity. Here you go." Now, we took that video clip and we put it on YouTube and shared it on Facebook. A friend of mine, Rob Wiles, who's a wrestling podcaster, saw the video, reached out to me and said, "Jeff, listen, I have two world title belts that are signed, authenticated, one from The Undertaker, one from The Rock. I'm going to donate the one from The Undertaker to the charity, and I want to send the one from The Rock to Kid in the UK." So we reached out. Kid's parents actually told us that his birthday was a few weeks later. So they were able to, we sent it to an address or whatever that the kid wouldn't be able to see it. They were able to give it to him on his birthday. World title belt, actually signed by The Rock. Doesn't get any better than that. And they auctioned off the Undertaker's world title belt for charity.
That's amazing. I got tingles. That's so
Yeah.
cool. That's a really great story.
Yeah. Amazing, right?
It's really amazing. Must make you feel really good. Does any you've had a lot of other celebrity, any non-wrestlers ever bring some good? No.
Oh, well, those are just two.
I'm kidding.
No,
I'm
listen,
joking. I'm joking.
yeah, those
Yeah.
are just two that had actually happened that did something that happened to be very unique. But no, we've had Ice-T and Coco on. We've had Tommy Chong. We've had Lamar Odom. We've had a lot of people.
Yeah, Morgan
George
Fairchild, George Lopez, Sean Kannan.
Kanan.
Sean Kanan.
Oh, that's another one. So Sean Kanan, that's kind of a funny little story. So Sean Kanan comes on to FanRoom, and I had told the hosts, this was before he got back onto Cobra Kai. This is before that. I said, don't ask him if he's going to be on Cobra Kai because we want to let the fans ask that question so that they could get the moment. So we finished the first part of the show and nobody had asked that question. So I said to Jay, listen, nobody asked this question. It's the most obvious question. Are you going to be on Cobra Kai as Mike Barnes? Come on, no one's asked it. Can you just ask that question? I'd love to see what he's going to say. So he asks the question very slick. He says, so, have you or your agents been in touch with like Will Smith or Ralph Macchio? Are you DMing Ralph? Are you in talks in any way, shape, or form? Anything that you could tell us about coming on, if you're going to be coming back onto Cobra Kai? Sean, his face got bright red, and he said, well, I can't say anything, but I will just say you probably haven't seen the last of Mike Barnes. That one snippet went so viral all over the media just from him alluding that he was going to be back on Cobra Kai, and all just from the words of, I don't think you've seen the last of Mike Barnes. We shall see. And it was so like we were all just like, did he really just say that? So it was yeah, that was a pretty funny moment. And he got back on the show.
I know it was a great season. Do you watch Cobra Kai?
No, I do. But what I'm saying is a year later, I guess they must have saw all this viral press from what he said. And I'm not saying that's the reason why he got back on, of course, but it definitely probably gave them a little nudge like, look, there's some real interest in Sean Kanan as Mike Barnes, come on. We want to see Barnes back, you know what I'm saying? So
Well, the bad boy of karate, you got to bring him back. How could they not bring him back?
exactly. Exactly. You got to bring him back.
That's awesome. So yeah, it's that's really cool. Do you have any fan rooms coming up? Is there a whole schedule or fanroomlive.com? I know.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks, we have the Yin Yang Twins coming up, and then we have some that we're working on that are going to be more for September, October. So those will be announced in the next couple of weeks, so to speak.
Got it. When you announce one, do people buy tickets? How do you become part of the audience?
Yeah, people buy tickets to get on to FanRoom Live. They go to our website and they purchase the tickets.
And then so come with questions ready then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about fan room is like, we say, hey, look, you get a question or two, but a lot of times what happens is the celebrity or the talent, they get so into it and these discussions happen and it turns from like one or two questions that might supposed to last a minute or two, and the talents having so much fun that it ends up being 5-minute conversations. It's great. A lot of times that happens, and they have these like in-depth, up close and personal, intimate conversations.
Are the old ones, can we watch them on YouTube or do you preserve them once they occur?
A lot of them are on YouTube. We also have a bunch that are on, or at least some video clips on iTunes 24/7, but a lot of them are on YouTube. Yeah. There's some that we haven't posted yet, but we try to take certain video clips from different shows and post them, but there are some that we've posted the full shows.
Do you have any dream guests that you want to get on Fan Room Live? Like the ones that are on your bucket list of future guests? I don't mean you booked them, but just like, oh my God, if we could get.
Well, of course, there's always.
I know, but who?
Well, if we could get them. I mean, I don't.
I know. People ask me all the time. I'm like, I'd love to talk to Jerry Seinfeld or Henry Winkler. You're just people that like I would love to personally talk to. You know what I mean? Like of fandom wise. Who would you get on
As a fan,
yeah.
I would love to get somebody like Stone Cold Steve Austin on. That's just me because I'm a wrestling fan, or The Rock. But yeah, I mean, there are certain people that I would love to have on that are just as a fan, and there's people that I'd love to have on just because I think they'd be great with their audience. Like I think Conor McGregor would be a real fun one.
It's really cool. I love it's because I love I'm a big Comic-Con guy. I love going to that, and I've done panels and so I know like live I've been to like where the fans come and they ask questions, and it's such a great experience for fans to be connected to people that they have a pop culture affinity for or some kind of affinity for. Fan Room is, especially born out of the pandemic, just seems like amazing idea to keep those connections alive, especially during a time when all those connections were severed.
Well, the other beauty of it is that, like, for example, you mentioned at a Comic-Con, right? So you could go up and get an autograph. You could go up and get a selfie. But there's that person online that's trying to rush you through because they're trying to get hundreds of other people in a very short period of time. So you only get you only really get a few seconds to talk to them. And even at the panel, when people do come up and ask a question, you're on a stage, they're in the crowd. What we do, because it's virtual, we actually get them face to face so they could talk to each other and it's more like you're in their green room versus being at a Comic-Con or on a panel, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a certain different level of intimacy if you're like Zoomed and talking versus kind of 50 feet away in an audience or at the microphone and kind of go, hello,
Exactly.
on episode 42. You know what I mean? And then they kind of just answer you, but you're right. They're talking back to the audience. They're not really necessarily talking to you. They're just answering your questions.
Exactly.
You got any big parties coming up? Do you do normal person parties? Like if I, or just celebrities?
No, listen, I that's funny. No, I plan events for executives and, for people that just want to throw a party. Yeah. I mean, celebrities, agents, and managers, they also come to me for their own personal parties too. So it's not like I just plan parties for celebrities only. It's just that a big core of my business just so happens to be celebrities and their, as clients or in a celebrity driven industry, so to speak.
Got it.
So yes, in answer to your question, if you ever want to throw a party, happy to help.
But if someone wants to throw a big party, how do they get a hold of you, Jeff?
Oh, well, I mean, they can go they can go onto my my website, which is iegny.com. They can, shoot an email out to me, or even just DM me on Instagram, which is at IE Group NYC. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me, is either by email or just DMing me on Instagram that they have an event that they want to plan.
Awesome. And how can I get invited to one of these Saturday Night Live after parties?
Talk about that after the show.
Jeff, thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. This was fun. It was really, what you do is so cool. It's really fascinating. Thanks for giving a little insight into it for me.
Oh, no, I appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun. And yeah, I really do thank you.
All right, everyone. Jeff Krauss, party planner to the stars, co-creator of FanRoom Live. Those are some great stories from FanRoom Live. I hope you all check out the next one or check out their schedule and hop in, get a ticket, hang with some celebrities. Nice, intimate experience. If you need Jeff to give you a high-profile party, you know where to reach him now. You can party like the stars. All right, do want to thank one more time my special guest, Jeff Krauss, as we have come to the end of the episode. And I also want to thank all of you for coming back week after week. It means the world to me, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Classic Conversations. If you like what you heard, don't be shy and give us a follow on your favorite podcast app. Also, why not go ahead and tell all your friends about the show? You strike us as the kind of person that people listen to. Thanks in advance for spreading the word, and we'll catch you next time on Classic Conversations.